Well, our main courses here of snow, sleet, or ice, depending on your location. This will be the final totals and the timeline of this event. I'm meteorologist Hans Leach coming at you with today's update. And the National Weather Service's watches and warnings. There is currently a winter storm warning up for the Portland metro area and the northern coast range that expires Friday at 10 a.m., while an ice storm warning is up for the central and southern Willamette Valley and the central coast range that expires a little bit earlier at 4 a.m. And the wind advisory, which is not really shown on the map here, that is just for the eastern portion of the metro area going into the Columbia Gorge, that expires at 10 p.m. tonight. As a note, this is the National Weather Service watches and warnings are going off of their forecast, and they're expecting more ice than snow. So for the Portland area, their forecast is up to an inch of snow, and then up to 2/10 of an inch of freezing rain versus the Central and Southern Valley, which is at least a quarter of an inch of ice on the higher end. So one thing I do want to touch on is specifically last couple of days, I've mentioned that this is a backdoor cold snap, which signifies that it's generally a lot colder east of the Cascades. Well, Klamath Falls yesterday just set its all-time February lowest temperature record at negative 14 degrees, which breaks the old record of negative 10 set back on four dates in 1989, 1950, 1933, and while it's not explicitly shown yet, February 11th of 2025 also hit negative 10. So the February 2nd, 1950 date is very significant for the Portland area because that was Portland's all-time record cold temperature of -3. Now Portland had snow on the ground then, I believe it was 14 inches, which helped cool temperatures down significantly. And then on top of that, taking a look at some other sites, Burns was the other one I was impressed by, seeing a -27-degree low, which is their second coldest in February all time, only after a date, I believe, in 1985. Don't quote me on that. I don't have the data in front of me on that. So that just goes to show that the cold air we're tapping into is very cold and has gotten pretty far to the south. So, I'd like to break out the good old wind chill diagram again. I haven't brought this out for the last couple of events. So just for reference, the Portland area will probably be hovering between 25 and 33 or so degrees in the east wind prone area. So that eastern metro area or the enhancement areas in the West Hills and the Chehala Mountains. The highest gust I have seen at PDX is at 48 miles per hour. So the extreme wind gust would probably be around 50 on the upper end. So that means the wind chills would probably be somewhere in this amount. So when I've said the last couple of days that wind chills could be in the single digits, this is what I meant by that. All right, I'm going to skip the setup slide because essentially nothing has changed, and we'll go straight to our forecast notes. The initial wave on Thursday, snow to sleet in Portland with a brief chance of freezing rain in the evening hours, or sleet to freezing rain in the southern Willamette Valley. I do expect a slow thaw for the central and southern valley during the Thursday afternoon break, as I'll show during the timeline. I do expect a second wave on Friday morning. This should be primarily snow for most, especially Salem northward. Roads do not improve until Friday afternoon at best for the Portland area. Again, for the central and southern valley, it'll improve a little bit on Thursday before everything refreezes Friday morning. And then, as I just went over, this is a backdoor cold snap, and models do tend to scour out the cold air in the Portland area too quickly in these types of patterns. So, on to our snow totals and what changes did I make since yesterday? Essentially nothing. I didn't really notice big trends on the models either way. They've pretty much all held firm in terms of our model average that I like to use. So that means for the Portland area, that I'll start with 1 to 4 inches for the east wind prone areas into the Columbia River Gorge, as I do expect that east wind will eat up some of that moisture, which will lower that lower end total and higher end total for total precipitation. 2 to 5 inches if you are deeper into Washington County. So that excludes Tigard and Tualatin from that, and maybe even portions of Beaverton, even though it's not explicitly noted here. That also goes for pretty much the entirety of the Coast Range and into Southwest Washington. Again, that northern lobe of 1 to 3 inches does go up to the Puget Sound area. For areas further down in the valley, I am expecting about 1 to 4 inches again for the central Willamette Valley. And then for the southern Willamette Valley, if you are on the western half from about Corvallis to Veneta, probably about a trace to 2 inches, and that does extend up towards Silver Falls because of that warm tongue. And then for the Eugene area, on up towards Lebanon and Staten, primarily freezing rain, though I cannot rule out some snow on Friday morning. And then I showed this yesterday, I'll show it again. The specific dividing line I'm using is a north-south line right along the Willamette River through Eugene. And then I believe this is about where Chambers Way is. So east of there, primarily freezing rain. West of there, I think there's a higher chance of snow because of the cold air damming effect. Now, onto our ice totals. I did increase the ice totals upper end because more models are showing a little bit more ice for the central and southern Willamette Valley. While yesterday I thought 1/2 inch was the extreme upper end that'd be isolated only, now it looks like it could be a little bit more widespread. 10th to a 1/2 inch of freezing rain I'm expecting for the central southern Willamette Valley and the Coast Range valleys. And then for the Portland area, about 0.2 inches or less if you are south of the Columbia River. North of the Columbia River, I'm not expecting much in the way of freezing rain. All right, onto our timeline, and I will start with the Corvallis temperatures and conditions. And again, just keep in mind, because Corvallis backs up against the Coast Range, that means Corvallis is going to deal with some of that cold air damming, which means they'll probably have a little bit of a deeper cold pool to dig from than Eugene, Albany, possibly Salem, but Salem does benefit from being a little bit further north. So I anticipate temperatures after warming up from 27 degrees or so this morning, which is about where Corvallis is actually holding currently. Temperatures will top at about 37 degrees, with the primary band of precipitation coming in between about 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. before tapering off as we get into the evening hours with only about a 40% chance during any 4 hour block between about 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. Precipitation chances do go up Friday as we see that transition back over to full snow. And I think that chance is higher for Corvallis than Eugene because, again, that cold air dam effect and temperatures do start to warm back up Friday during the daytime hours. For the Portland area, I do anticipate before the morning commute, it'll be primarily cloudy. I do anticipate that snow to start probably around 8 to 9 in the morning, with temperatures hovering below freezing through the late morning and early afternoon hours. The biggest change with my timeline is instead of the 33-degree temperature being earlier in the day, I'm now anticipating that to be a little bit later with that break and more isolated showers occurring later in the day. Like Corvallis, about a 40% chance during the 4 hour block centered around 5 p.m., though that does increase as we go during the overnight hours. And most models are consistent that Friday around midnight is when Portland would eliminate its freezing rain and sleet chances and going back over to full snow. And Friday morning looks to be pretty high chance right now of another band coming in. That would be all snow. Low temperatures would be pretty similar to tonight, hovering right around 30 degrees or so before slowly warming up as precipitation dies off. I think by about 10 or 11 a.m., this event will be over. Now, onto our 7 day forecast, and I will start with the South Willamette Valley. I bumped up the temperatures about 2 degrees for today and tomorrow compared to the last couple of 7 day forecasts. And that range for snowfall really depends on where you're at. Higher the further west you go, lower the further east you go. High temperatures do start to creep back up towards normal, actually getting a little bit above normal on Tuesday, so I anticipate by Saturday it'll pretty much be business as usual. Pretty wet days I'm anticipating both on Sunday and Wednesday. For the Portland area, snow slash sleet storm today. Snow ending tomorrow with, I cannot rule out, however, some isolated rain snow mixes later in the day, though chances would be low for that. High temperature of 37 degrees. High temperature right around 40 degrees for Saturday as the colder east wind starts to pick back up. I don't anticipate gusts to exceed about 20 to 25 miles per hour, and the cold air pool will be much weaker. The Dows will probably be around 30 to 35 degrees rather than the temperatures they're at, which is right around 20 degrees. And then on Sunday, a quick warm up, finally closer to normal, and then temperatures hover right in the low to mid 50s as we go into next week. So that is going to be it for this video. If you can avoid going out tomorrow, I would highly recommend staying home. I know not everyone can do that, however. So, I will come out with another update tomorrow on the last second changes for Friday and what has happened so far on Thursday. So until then, stay safe out there and take care.